whole focus of Fallout 76 is to make a live service version of Fallout. That horrific concept dreamt up, based around good free-to-play games like Fortnite, Warframe and Path of Exile, which corporate executives have twisted into have your cake and fuck it live services, such as Star Wars Battlefront 2, Destiny 2, and every Assassin's Creed game since Assassin's Creed Origins. So looking at it from that perspective, how does it hold up then? Well, the answer is bloody fucking shitting terribly. Now, I'm of course going to ignore the fact that this game is about as appealing as a live service as a warthog's anus is as appealing as a glory hole, and we'll be focusing on this potential scenario of, if I bought this game and stuck with it long enough, hell, if I even liked it, what would be waiting for me if I invested time and possibly money into it? Well, in terms of longevity, this game has little to offer, like less than any of the single player Fallout games. There are an extremely limited number of quests before they start repeating themselves, and you have to do all of the quests in the main storyline. Like, there's one storyline with multiple factions in it, and you have to do basically all of them before you can actually win the game. Even if you have to join a faction that you don't like on a moral level, tough titties, you gotta join them, face the music and win. After this though, you end up just killing the same enemies over and over again, so I guess it's better than that. Bethesda have made it so that you have to make your own fun, but they haven't given you the tools to allow you to do so. Even if you manage to do so, the game has so many hours of fun in it, theoretically, before you eventually find yourself at a loss as to what you should be doing. The lack of potential for social interaction in the game makes it impossible to get the community aspects of the game to come to life, and most people just meet you, stare at you for a few moments, and then run away. Elder Scrolls Online had some form of chat functionality, so I don't get why this game can't. As a result, the enjoyment one can get out this game will wane, not grow over time like something like Injustice 2, which was the last live service I covered. This game in comparison just lacks any form of lifespan, pretty much drying up very quickly after 100 or so hours. In order to accommodate for this, the game has the trademark issues that come with other live services, like not being able to quit mid-mission for fear of losing all your progress, and losing all of your progress because your own network, or even the server, hosted by a billion-dollar corporation, has had a little bit of a hiccup, killing your whole game. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the live service model being in AAA games, especially in $60 titles, because they have thus far failed to respect the player's time or money, choosing to be addictive instead of fun, and choosing to reward the players who spend money over players who actually play the game. GTA Online was actually my first bit of exposure of this, and I found the heists to be very stressful. Having to dedicate a solid half hour, at least, to anything is a fucking nightmare, because I don't believe I can remember a time in which I had half an hour without being interrupted by anything at all. Like, anything as simple as the phone going off, the doorbell going, jobs needing doing around the house, or even something as unexpected as a loud noise that needs investigating. This isn't even taking into account if you live in a house with multiple people in it. Like if you live with your parents and they cook food for you, or have family members who need care. As a result, the game demands 30 minutes minimum of undivided attention, or else not only do you lose all of your progress, but another 3 people lose their progress as well because of your mistake, or because you have a life. The psychological pressure this puts on players is fucking gargantuan, and it's not even the player's fault. This is why I do not like online gaming, especially not online games that subscribe to the live service model. I find that they are for a very small minority of people who have nothing else in their lives, have no value for their money, and have addictive and obsessive personalities and tendencies. The only person I know who flourishes in games like GTA 5 ticks all of those boxes, and as a result, they are not a person that I, or many others, like to associate themselves with, as they are selfish, lazy, ill-educated, as they dropped out of school to play these games, and they're the kind of person that even brings physical harm to their own mother. Fallout 76, whilst being a lot more laxed than GTA Online, does have a final mission that is just fucking horrendous. It's not so much that I'm afraid of losing my quest progress, but more my instance progress, as I've killed a dozen enemies, and now if I restart I've got to kill them all again, with less weapons, less ammo, and less supplies. All that stuff that cost me to get this far. In other words, I couldn't do it again if the server crashed or I had to leave for any reason. Hell, as it got later into the night, I was getting more and more frustrated. People were starting to get worried about that. Like, I was just starting to get really frustrated because I knew that if I didn't do it at a certain point, I'd lose it all and then probably have to wait weeks to try again. However, I will admit that I was a few days out on medication doses due to a gross miscalculation as to how many pills I had left, and I had to wait the best part of a week to get more. So, my head was a mess on top of that. But still, the game didn't help. And the live service model probably is not going to help people who have severe mental health issues like I did at one point. Still, the fact that the games are live service can cause that level of stress. It just makes me ask why. The online portion, at best, adds nothing to your enjoyment, and at worst, hinders it, as you have so many problems introduced since Fallout 4, like lag, constantly regenerating enemies, enemies that do a Kyle from South Park and just declare didn't count, and their health just snaps back to its full state. Then you've got griefers, who just annoy the shit out of everybody, and bad actors, who can also get in your way. It's not that big of a problem in Fallout 76, but it's a potential problem that doesn't need to be there. Honestly, I struggle to figure out the benefits of having more players at this point, as the only instance I can think of where they're of any help is if they somehow happen to be in a situation where you need help killing a giant boss, let's say a super mutant behemoth, and they're there to help you do it. But that never has happened to me. Not once have I ever had another player come and help me when I needed it. They always just steal my kills at the last minute or some shit like that. I seldom need rescuing anyway. I'd also like to point out that the whole endgame of firing that nuke in the silo was for naught, as I ended up just quitting and going to bed, as it was midnight, and you know, I have a fucking life and a job, and I had to get up early for that job, so I couldn't go to the nuclear blast zone and fight the final boss. And yeah, by the way, that is the ending of this game. You fire a nuke. There's no ending cutscene or anything. What you're seeing on screen right now, that's the ending of this game. Unedited. Congratulations. You pressed a button. Fuck this game. So, not only did I spend the best part of the night just stressing myself out to complete the final mission, not only did I barely do it, not only did I just get a curveball thrown at me after I had to decide where to fire my nuke, but, on top of all of that, I didn't even get to reap the benefits of my labour, because I didn't get to kill the final boss. Like, is it just me, or is this idiotic beyond belief? I mean, having such a temporary window to defeat the final boss, after navigating the hardest bit in the game, is just moronic by anyone's standards. Like, what if the server fails immediately after you launch the nuke? Which has happened multiple times If 3 people launch a nuke, the server crashes. So, what the fuck? Why it couldn't be like Lonesome Road, where you create a special area of the map with the nuke, is beyond me. Have a special access area for people who completed the main quest, where they can fight harder enemies and get better loot. It would at least avoid shit like server crashes after 3 nukes are launched. Not to mention that it would also make more sense as to why the final boss is there. If the nuke targeted the Scorched Beast's nest, for instance, a nice little higher level area for post-game players could be created through that. But nope, gotta be able to nuke your friends with an ICBM. All none of them, because none of my friends will fucking play this shit, which is totally not worth it, because the amount of stress that it takes to launch a nuke at some randomer on the map is not fucking worth it. It was at this point that my interest in Fallout 76 just dropped dead. It has nothing to offer beyond the end game. And you might ask, wait, it had something to offer? Well, you're not wrong with that question because it fucking didn't. In truth, I won't argue with that question, but if you find something that's worth the game's offering, you'll lose it by this point. I can guarantee. Most people I know who play the game have seemingly stopped at this point, and I don't think a No Man's Sky style patch will fix it and bring people back to it. So, was the concept of an online Fallout doomed to begin with? No, not at all. People have been asking for it for years, decades even. Hell, a Falloutized version of Path of Exile could have been great. A dungeon crawler about a vault exile who travels the world, delving into vaults and caverns and whatever else in a well-made dungeon crawler. It would be ideal. A Fallout-esque Destiny game or MMO would have worked with the right framework. Or even just a regular Fallout game with online co-op would have also done the trick. But then we remember that these things would have taken a lot more effort and aren't currently trending right now. What Bethesda was ready to dish out was basically the minimal amount of work they could do to capitalize on a trend. And as a result, the game was just destined to fail. Probably the worst thing about all of this is Bethesda's response. Their attitude, incompetence, and even their complete and utter lack of comprehension towards the issues that they've created. The outside stuff has pretty much just been taught to death. Like, I could give you a quick rundown, but the list has actually changed since I wrote it. There was the shit show of the beta, the canvas bag being nylon, and the refund being an insulting 500 atoms, canvas bags going out to influencers instead of paying customers, and anyone who asked for a replacement bag got their data leaked online, anyone who bought the Nuka-Cola Dark bottles ended up getting some cheap pieces of shit bottles with some plastic mods that you had to put on yourself. Then, you have their bullshit of them doing a Bungie and giving players less XP with a super patch. I mean, really? When you're trying to improve PR, the first thing you think is, let's copy what Bungie did with Destiny 2. That went really well for them. Then, there's the looming threat of loot boxes potentially making their way into the game. A bit like Fallout Shelter, except it's not free. And it's the fucking worst. We also can't forget the insulting bullshit that came with the holiday pack being horrifically overpriced, putting free-to-play skin prices in a $60 game. Now, in truth, what has this left me feeling? Well, I know now that you cannot trust Bethesda with personal information. You only get one chance with me in this regard. I mean, as I said before, I still don't trust Sony, and it's been almost 10 years since they fucked up. So, what Bethesda did was dangerous, and it was in response to what basically amounted to a scam as well. Therefore, I find it difficult to trust them on any front. I wouldn't even let them run my fucking bath at this point. It's fucking tragic that I trust EA not to do the shit that Bethesda has pulled over the past 2 months. A company that I've spent hundreds, possibly thousands of hours playing their games. To my enjoyment as well, I love their games, but this has just left my faith in the company just shattered completely. In 2 months, they've gone from one of my favourite companies to one of the ones I hold the most contempt for. I would not reward Bethesda with your money for this product, were I you. Not even at sale price. Don't bother with it. We are currently in a golden age of good games, and if you're a Fallout fan, times have never been better. inXile brought back Wasteland a few years ago, with Wasteland 2, which is a fantastic post-apocalyptic role-playing game, written by the same writers and made by the same people as Fallouts 1 and 2.
There was a Fallout 1 and 2?
Yes!
Where your skills actually matter in the game. Obsidian are making their own version of Fallout in March, which looks significantly better than anything Bethesda's put out in the past year or so, as far as Fallout goes. You've got RimWorld, that I mentioned before, which is a colonization game in which you have to colonize a dangerous world, and unlike Fallout 76, it tells a story but without scripted events. This is actually one of my favourite games, if not the best game that I've played this year. And I've sunk over 100 hours into it, and unlike Fallout 76, I do not regret a single second of it. It is a fantastic game, which is much better made, and is sold at a much more reasonable price than this piece of fucking shit. Finally, if you must get your Fallout fix, then I would highly recommend Fallout New California, a Fallout New Vegas mod formerly known as Project Brazil, which acts as a bridging game between Fallout 2 and New Vegas. It has real RPG elements in it, where your skills dictate your strengths and weaknesses, 2 paths to play in the game, and multiple faction campaign storylines ranging from the NCR to the Bishop Family Mafia and even the Raiders. Honestly, it feels more like an expansion than a mod, and I would highly recommend it to fans of the series or people who haven't played the games before because it offers that much. Not to mention that you'd buy New Vegas to play it, so you'd get that game with it as well. Though New Vegas is a bit temperamental right now, and the game takes a while to install, and it has a lot of faffing about in order to install it, it's pretty worthwhile as it is 100% free, and has had more time, effort, and love put into it than Fallout 76 ever did. Hell, I'd say it had more development time than Fallout 4 did, which is incredible. What I'm basically saying is, don't support this. Support these. They deserve it a hell of a lot more, and you deserve it a hell of a lot more. These might not be to everyone's taste, but they're to someone's taste at least.